And good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday morning to you. Welcome back. Boy, November 2021. Where in the world has this year gone? I mean, I used to hear my parents talk about how when you get a little bit older, time speeds up. Do you remember when you were just a kid and even early teenage years? Time was just so slow. It was just creep. And, I can't wait till I'm 16. Oh, I'm 16. Oh, can't wait till I'm 18. Oh, wow, can't wait till I'm 21. Oh, man, I can't wait till I'm 25. And then it's like, hold on now. Hold on now. You turn around and you're 40. And then you're 50. Yeah. Where in the world does time go? Well, anyway, with that note, we are looking at continuing our study of Matthew 25:14 and following, the parable of the absent master. Now, I shared with you yesterday something that is just absolutely incredibly important. And it seems to me that it is just widely overlooked, or perhaps in some cases just simply ignored. Because you see, as we look at the comparison between Matthew 25:14 and Acts chapter 1, the argument is made, well, the angel said Christ was going to come in like manner. And that refers to the fact that he was a Jewish man going up into heaven in a physical body. So he's got to come back in a physical body. Ladies and gentlemen, I really think that does complete injustice to the subject of the second coming of Christ. As I stated yesterday, the Bible is very, very clear that Christ's second appearing would not be as a physical man, but he was going to be manifested through the actions that he and the sovereignty that was his. The actions that he would bring about, very carefully, very quickly, just like the Father rode on a swift cloud into Egypt and destroyed Egypt by utilizing the Assyrians under Sargon the king, Isaiah 19, Isaiah chapter 20. Jesus was going to use the Romans to judge Israel and avenge his own blood. Why? Because as Jesus said, John chapter 5, 21 and following, from henceforth the Father judges no one, but has committed all judgment to the Son. Now pay very, very careful attention. So that all men might honor the Son as they honor the Father. Do you see what's going on here? Jesus, who is in the form of God, thought it not robbery to be counted equal with God. But he made himself of no reputation. He was found in fashion as a man. He humbled himself and became in a fashion as a man, even the likeness of a servant. And he humbled himself to death, even the death of the cross. Ladies, this and gentlemen, this is the Incarnation. He was made a little lower than the angels in his incarnation. But his parousia, as we read directly from Revelation chapter 19 yesterday, his second coming is not a depiction of his coming in that same body of humiliation, lower than the angels. No. He would be revealed as the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. And listen, this is manifested in so many different ways. I want you to notice 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 14 and following. Paul wrote to Timothy and said, and urged him that he keep this commandment without spot and without blemish until our Lord Jesus Christ's appearing. Epiphany. Shining forth. It's not the identical sense of apocalypsis, but it's a shining forth and a manifestation in that shining forth, which he will manifest in his own time, who is the blessed and only potentate, the King of kings and the Lord of lords. Okay, so in his own time, the time of his epiphany, the time of his manifestation would be to reveal who he really is, which is the only potentate, the Pantocrator, the King of kings and the Lord of lords. You see, ladies and gentlemen, when he came in his incarnation, he was manifested in the flesh. The Word became flesh and dwelt among men, tabernacled among men. John chapter 1 and verse 14. His second coming would not be to manifest himself in his humanity. His humanity manifested himself in his humanity. His second coming would be to manifest himself as the King of kings, the Lord of lords, acting in judgment as his Father had acted in judgment many, many times before. And thus, notice this, he will manifest in his own time. He will manifest in his own time who is the only potentate, the King of kings and the Lord of lords. See, in his parousia, he was to reveal who he really was. Who alone, that is, the King of kings, the Lord of lords. Well, who does John describe as the King of kings and the Lord of lords in Revelation 19 that we studied yesterday? Jesus. Who alone, King of kings, Lord of lords, has immortality, dwelling in an unapproachable light, whom no man has seen or can see, to whom be honor and everlasting glory. And somebody goes, well, see, Preston, they had seen Jesus. He had been manifested to them for 3.5 years. That's right, in the flesh. But you see, according to Hebrews chapter 5, verse 7 and following, the days of Christ's flesh were over. It refers to the days of Christ's flesh as in the past. The days of his incarnation were in the past. Now, does that mean that he would no longer remember, that he would no longer know what it was like to be man in the flesh? Obviously not. But we can't get around the fact that Jesus prayed to the Father, and now, Father, glorify me with the glory that I had with you. Not I was you, but I had with you before the world began. So, this is talking about Christ being manifested as the King of kings and the Lord of lords, being manifested as God. This is Acts chapter 1, ladies and gentlemen. He was received up in a cloud, taken out of their sight, and to any Jew halfway conversant with the Old Testament, the understanding that Christ was going to return on the clouds of heaven would not be indicative that he was coming back as a man. He was coming back as God, as King of kings and Lord of lords. We're going to pick that up next Monday. But in the meantime, notice, who alone has immortality, dwelling in the unapproachable light, whom no man has seen or can see, to whom be honor and everlasting glory. See, he's still talking about Jesus being revealed as King of kings and Lord of lords. Now, look at what he says about Jesus as King of kings and Lord of lords in 1 Timothy chapter 1 and verse 17. Now to the King Is Christ the King? Yeah. Hello? Christ is the King. To the King, eternal, immortal, invisible. Invisible? Well, how can he be invisible if he's in a physical body of a earthly Jew? Well, that argument falls because Christ is King. He is the true King, eternal, immortal, invisible. To God who alone is wise. Well, is Christ wise? For crying out loud, folks, He's the Word. Now again, this is not to say Jesus is the Father. He clearly delineates Himself from the Father. But He was going to do the works of the Father. And as we shall see, once again, He was not going to come back as a Jew in the physical body of a Jew. He was going to be revealed as the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Now that means that when we go to Acts chapter 1 and we see Christ ascending, departing, the absent master, we see Christ departing as a 5'5" Jewish man in a physical body, and the angels, and He's riding on the clouds, taken out of their sight. And the angel said, "The same Jesus whom you see taken from you shall come in like manner as you have seen Him go." The reference was not to the biological body. It was to the manner of riding on the clouds of heaven out of their sight into the heavenly realm. And don't forget, this is discussed extensively in Dan Derry's book, The Meaning Behind the Manner, A Covenant Understanding of the Ascension of Christ, Like Father, Like Son, on Clouds of Glory, and The Elements Shall Melt with Fervent Heat. Remember, folks, if you bought these separately, paid separate shipping, it would cost you over $63, almost $64. For the month of November 2021, U.S. orders only, total delivered price, $39.95. Okay, thank you so much for joining me for this morning's Morning Musings. Don't forget, tomorrow we will continue our study and our review and refutation of Kyle Pope's book entitled Thinking About AD 70. We're closing that down, drawing some conclusions and summarizing. You don't want to miss it. I'll see you on the flip side.